So today I want to talk about, with my personal experience in retention, what time really does for us on a moment-to-moment basis, but also how can we properly think about time in this regard, because it's so hard to go down the path of retention and endure this one thing, and that is time. Because only with time do we get to see the benefits, and only with time is this worth doing. If we didn't have this factor in here, then the entire mindset of retention really doesn't make sense, and life itself really doesn't make much sense as well. So I'm going to go into a little bit of the things and ways in which I think about time and how I use it to my advantage to get through some pitfalls in life. So one of the biggest things is, last video or 2 videos ago that I made, some guy commented and said that he had been doing retention for quite some time. He was relatively young, but it hadn't cured something in his life. It hadn't really helped him much with specific things. And he said, maybe I just don't have much to offer. And I was thinking to myself, he could be right. He could honestly be hitting the nail right on the head there. But also at the same time, is he giving it enough time to develop? I mean, don't get me wrong, like each and every single human being is capable of a lot, but their capabilities differ and taper to different things. And so what we need to really focus on is what our lives, what our focus needs to be focused on and tapered to when we're in retention. Sometimes we can understand that a little bit better through meditation, but we will really ultimately understand that through time, whether we like it or not. The man who spends longer time in retention understands over a longer period of time why he is in retention in the first place and what it's doing for him, as well as some of the things that are coming up in his life actively, that he can, which ways he can move in life. But my response to that kid is just time. So my response, I guess, is this: imagine you live the life that you lived before. You live a life where you're addicted to pornography, addicted to masturbation, addicted to doing these terrible, heinous things to yourself, right? And let's say you do it for years. I mean, let's say you do drugs for years. Are you not going to have a more difficult and longer process getting off those drugs years down the road versus months down the road? I mean, time is a really big factor in making us who we actually are. And I've already talked about that. And who we actually are is a very important part of how we experience life and our process within this entire process, essentially. And when we don't give due time for due healing, or for this healing, I guess, that we're experiencing, are we going to just say that it's not going to work after a few months? I mean, I understand that each and every single person is going to go through this, but you're going to have these kinds of mental things where it's going to say, like, your mind's going to tell you it's all placebo, or it's not worth continuing, 60, 100, 200 days down the road, because it's still going to be steadily kind of hard to abstain. But at the same time, have all this energy, and you want to continue down the path, but you don't really know if it's really doing much for you, because you're not seeing one-to-one results day in and day out. Well, here's the thing. We need to understand that this healing that we're going through is actually slowly happening. It's behind the scenes, and it's always been behind the scenes. I mean, even when you first start the process, you can see how behind the scenes this healing actually is. It starts very slowly, and it really only pops out every now and then, where you see a direct thing that is associated to retention, like a direct benefit, like increased attraction, or an increased awareness on yourself, an increased enjoyment of activities, better sleep at times, better workouts. Maybe some of them can be more consistent than others, but ultimately we only see it pop out from time to time, and only behind the scenes is it building. We're not actively noticing it. It just slowly happens. So as we give time to the process, that's number one, but you also need to understand that it is a process nonetheless, and if you've been giving it, the opposite, like if you've been overcome by this addiction for years or overcome by not retaining for years, how are you going to expect to truly see change if you don't give good time for this to actually happen? So that's that first bit that I wanted to go into. Second thing is regarding urges. So when we feel really strong urges, it can come in seasons, but it can also come in moments and days, as well as triggers. Um, One of the ways we can leverage time to overcome these urges is by telling ourselves and reminding ourselves of times when we urge surfed. So urge surfing is just riding the urge, making no action. Of course, you have the ability to make action on the urge if you want to, but just observing it. Like if you could sit down in a chair, be still as possible, and observe it with no physical movement of your hands or your body, just observe the urge, and in due time it will pass. I guarantee it. One of the ways we can do that is by saying, if an urge pops up, we can always have that outlet in our minds mentally to say, I recognize this urge, but I know it's going to go away in due time. So even though it may be strong, it's not forever, And when you do that, like I've done this so many times, when I do that, I can feel my body legitimately shift and my mind shift to be able to go and do other things, right? So since I know that all it's going to take is time, well, now I'm just going to go occupy my time for the time being. And then once that urge is gone, I mean, I'm probably not even going to notice it because I'm going to be occupied with something else. But truly, I'm telling you, like, when we leverage this ability to say, like, yeah, this rough part, this rough feeling is coming up, or this rough, urge, or this trigger we know is about to happen is going to come. Yeah, but we have time, that it's gonna blow away. It's not like we're gonna die. We'll be all right, and it'll just go away with time, and we'll get better and be much better down the road. So it's like it doesn't even matter. So when we can understand that, if we just get into the mindset of completely committing, we can always understand that, yeah, there may be a hard thing in the road, or there may be an urge in the road, right? But with due time and good following of the process, good following of retention, if we stay consistent and continuously remind ourselves of that every urge, then we're actually right. You're not lying to yourself in that moment. You're being 100% honest in each and every single way. And with that, it reinforces that thought. And now we have a reinforced new way to deal with urges, and that is to occupy our time, as well as be completely and fully in control of how we spend it. Right. So that's a little tip or a trick. What else? So when time is a factor with things like let's say a particular work item, or yeah, let's say a particular work item, you have time that is associated towards your entire career, or let's just say career, right? In your entire career, you have associated things that your time needs to be going to, right? That could be, maybe you go to school first, you allocate time towards school, and little by little you build up time until eventually you have a career and a job and a whole new place. And it is a result, yes, of your decisions. It is a result, yes, of your work ethic, but it is an over-encompassing result of your energy and your brain power and your desire spent on it, right? So you spend this sort of energy in exchange for your career, per se. And there's other things that you can spend as well. You can also expend energy that you could have focused on friendships. You can also expend energy that you could have focused on, working out, per se. But regardless, you do have an associated cost to each and every single outcome. Some of us are better about how we spend our money than others, but regardless, it's there. We have an associated cost. And when we take into account the the cost of retention, we start to understand realistically that there is no cost, right? There is no cost of retention. All it all it really takes is, I guess the cost of retention is giving up being comfortable as we were comfortable with not being on retention. And when we give that up, it feels very unfamiliar. So there's this fear that creeps in immediately off of starting retention without proper experience, outside of, pushing yourself and maybe like, I don't know, work or maybe in a workout, so maybe you might be able to force yourself for the time being to start retention, but at the same time, you won't be able to properly see the results or properly, what am I trying to say? Properly understand what is to come, um, if you haven't allocated enough time towards it. Um, so it may be hard to see that all the benefits that are going to come your way are going to come, but it's also possible to see them when you actually stay on the path and associate a good amount of time to it. Because, like, here's one thing, like, if you were to go through your entire career path at, let's say, 80% effort, right, then you're going to get a result that is below or at 80%, in my opinion. Or if you're blessed by God, then it's going to go over 80%. But that's really the only case. So when we're kind of going through retention, we need to understand that, like, are we giving this our full ability? Are we giving this our full capacity? Are we cheating? Are we doing a little bit of stuff that we shouldn't be doing that's tempting us, right? Are we stimulating ourselves too highly, right? Are we not taking good care of our sleep? Are we not going to the gym? Are we not doing all the things that are going to make the benefits of retention, make retention itself so much better? Are we or are we not? I mean, realistically, what are we doing? And when we do that, when we do really, really well at like 100%, we give it 100% in retaining ourselves and pushing forward to do better things, we realize that, oh, well, that is giving me 100% results, like actually good results that I'm expecting 30, 60 days down the line. And sometimes you have results that you don't expect, right? And that's going to happen. But regardless, what are we doing with if the time that we're allocating towards retention now is not 100%, then we're going to be getting far from 100% results in our journey. And we have to realize that there's consequences associated with not being proper in how we conduct ourselves on retention. We must overcome lust mentally as well as physically. We must overcome sexual sin in our hearts as well as our minds. And so the more that we can do that, more intentionally and more, I guess you could say 100%, this time is well spent, as well as, and then you can take that framework and throw it into each and every little thing. Like, since you have more energy due to this process of having done retention 100%, making sure all your baselines are covered, going to the gym, journaling, reading, keeping yourself at peace, staying committed. Now you're going to sit down and do work. You have all this energy. You're going to do 100% there as well. Or at least that's what I've come to understand or come to find the further I go down the road. I guess that's really all I have today. If you guys like this video, then leave a like. If you like the channel and you want to hear more stuff like this, or you're a man that's on retention and you want to hear more about my own personal story or some of the other things that I've been talking about, subscribe, look at the channel, go look at some of these videos. They're all pretty good, I think. I mean, a couple of my videos did all right, so that's good to see. I think 2 videos ago I had blow up. It's like at 1.6 thousand views, which is awesome, and we got like 30 subscribers from that vid alone, pretty much. And so we're almost up to 100 subs. I really hope that we keep growing. I really hope that we get up to like a K at some point in time, and I can start talking a little bit more in depth about other things as well as just retention, and maybe bring some of my experience of long-term retention at that point in time further into the discussion. Um, if you have any questions for me specifically, leave them down in the comments and I will respond to them ASAP. Um, and if you have any video suggestions, also leave those down in the comments. But love that you guys are watching these videos, being winners, and choosing to do better for your life. I promise you, this is one of the best things that you can possibly do is retention. One of the best things you can do for yourself as a man is to retain yourself. And I hope that all you all have a good day. Goodbye.